And welcome today. We're so glad to have you on our Women Warriors workshop. And we are continuing to talk all about kids and preparing them for school. And I'm really excited today. We're bringing Echo Mann on, and she is here to join us and talking to us about especially the high schoolers. Because Echo is herself, she's an English teacher. I'm going to let you, Echo, tell us all the different classes that you teach. But she has a degree in psychology and English, and then she also mastered in education. She teaches 11th and 12th grade English classes, and she is so fun. I love that she brings so much personality into her classes. And so I'm really excited for all of you to hear Echo and some of the tips that she's got for us today in getting your kids ready to go into high school, or if they're already in high school, what are some great tips that you can do in preparing them to head back to school right now? So Echo, I'm going to turn it over to you. Why don't you give us your tips? She also is a mom of teenagers, so she's got some great wisdom. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Echo.
Okay, so I am mostly going to focus on your older teenagers because I teach 11th and 12th grade, and I have four kids, and three have now graduated. I have one left in high school. She's just starting this year. So my advice is like more the older kids because that's just kind of where I live. Um, so, because there is a big difference, like those teenage years from junior high to high school, so much change happens,
Mhm.
right? So when you're looking at your older kids, sorry if I keep looking down, I've got notes. I really have three big pieces of advice with lots of little things that fall underneath them. And my first piece of advice is to remember that it takes a village to raise your kids. So expand your village. As a teacher, I know these kids in a different way than you do. I see them with their friends. I see them in like a different situation than you probably do. And makes me kind of a good resource for a parent. I don't think a lot of parents really utilize teachers as much as they could. I know one of my kids had, so he was at a school where they have like a homeroom kind of class every day. So his teacher, who was his homeroom teacher, he also had for two classes, which means we're on an AB schedule here. So they have four classes one day and four classes the second day. And he had those classes each day. So that teacher saw him for a total of 3 hours every single day, which in all honesty is more than I saw him a lot of those days. Weekends I maybe see him more, but during those days you just don't see your kids a lot once they start getting bigger and are in sports and have jobs and social lives and all the things they're doing. So there were a lot of times when I would just email the teacher and be like, hey, have you noticed this behavior in my kid? My kid seems kind of off. Have you noticed anything in class? And I was really surprised how much he did notice, especially because he had him for kind of a homeroom period. He saw a lot of things that I never would have noticed. And if you get an email from a teacher, I mean, that says something like, "Hey, I've noticed that your child is, a little off or a little struggling. Do you know anything about that?" You should check up with your kid. You should not be like, no, they're fine, or, stop butting into my business. This is a teacher who's genuinely concerned and has noticed a behavior change. That's something you should follow up and just ask your kid and be like, hey, what's going on with you? Is there something happening? And then listen. Um, Another thing that I did, this one's with my kids, not with my students. I happen to fall into this one. Be friends with your kids' friends' parents. Um, it is like if I could give parents one piece of advice for raising teenagers, be friends with your kids' friends' parents. If your kid is having an issue, they are probably not going to talk to you about it, but they might go talk to a parent of a friend. And if you can just like, if your kid's having a really, like you got in a struggle with them and they're heading to their friend's house, if you can send their friend's parent a quick text and say, hey, we just had this thing. Can you let me know if you notice anything or tell me what he says or blah, blah. Oh my gosh, guys, this is huge. Plus, sorry, my dog. Um, you will get in conflicts with your kids as they get older. Like they're changing a lot. And so one of my kids got really mad at us and decided to run away one day, which can be terrifying as a parent. Like they're running away. They've yelled swear words at you and called you names and they're off, right? And this kid was a hard kid anyway. But they ran away, and we got a text within 10 minutes, and they're like, hey, your kid is at our house. He seems really ticked off. What do you want us to do? And we were like, oh my gosh, just keep him. This is great. Awesome. Keep him. Talk to him about this. This is what's happening. And then he found out that they'd told us where he was. And, you know, the purpose in running away is they want you to worry about them. So he left that house and went to another one. And within about 20 minutes this time, we get another text. Hey, your kid is here. I had built the strongest village, and I had no idea how strong my village was, because this kid went to 5 different houses, and every one of those parents texted me and was like, dude, your kid's here. He seems really mad. And I was like, yeah, he is. This is great. You keep him. He ended up staying the night at a friend's house. Not his friend, our friend, an older friend. He calls an uncle. He's not related. He has no kids. He's just an uncle. I don't know how to explain this. We have a weird village. He stayed at his house, and the next morning, uncle, who made him sleep on the couch, woke him up early, fixed some breakfast, made him do the dishes, talked to him about how he needed to apologize to his parents, and called us over to have a discussion with a moderator. So
Wow.
I've been really lucky in the people I've surrounded myself with, but that just on accident happened to me. And that would be my biggest advice. Like, be the weird parent that goes to the door when you pick your kids up. Like, start when you're still driving them around, go to the door and knock on it. Don't just text them and have them come out to the car. Go talk to the parents. If your kid is going over to someone's house a lot, make a point of saying, hey, I need to meet these parents if you're going to be there a lot. Be the weirdo who shows up and has conversations with people. It is so awkward. I am an introvert and I hate doing this, but I do it. As soon as my kid is starting to be good friends with someone, I'm like, so I need to meet their parents. So my kids are like, ugh. But I think they kind of like it too, because they know I'm going to do it, right? And if they're going to go on vacation with someone, I'm like, that's fine, but I need to meet their parents. And then, you know, go for a soda or a coffee or a dessert, or have them over for a barbecue or something. Like, just be weird and know that you're doing it for the best thing that your kid is doing, because those people are really going to be important in their lives. And we want to know who's important in our kids' lives, right? And this goes to their friends too. Um, know your kids' friends, and have all of the snacks in the world at your house so that they want to be at your house. If people show up, be willing to go and buy some pizza if you have to. Like, make your house a comfortable place for kids to be, and sit down and joke with them. You know, like, let all judgment go. Don't give them the look. We all know the look, you know, the don't do that. Just be the one who's okay with everybody, so that you know who they're hanging out with. And then you know who you want to have time available for, you know, like the friends that you like, and you're like, these are good friends, these are good kids. Be more available for those friends, like, work your schedule around hangout time. And then there's going to be some friends that you're like, oh, they want to hang out. Oh, we have some mandatory family fun activity that I just made up in my head, right? And that's okay too. So, because their friends are going to really shape who they become, especially in these 3 years of high school. So you need to know who they're hanging out with and who you want. Like, don't ever, can I just say as a teacher, don't ever forbid your kids from hanging out with somebody, because they're going to hang out with them even harder. This is the years when they are like, whatever you say, they're going to do the opposite of, right? So if you're like, you can't hang out with that kid, that's going to be their favorite friend. So don't ever say you can't hang out with them. Just be busy a lot when they're coming over, or have a job that they need, you know, like, be weirdly unavailable when they want to hang out with the friends that you don't really think they should be hanging out with. And they will naturally see that those friends are probably not the better people if you're making it more available for friends that are good for them. And we are talking about, like, your kids, not just the friends that you approve of, but the friends that are good for them as human beings. Because there is like a huge, sorry, I'm going to get emotional. There's a huge epidemic in our teenagers, um, and their mental health. And they are choosing suicide as an out option way too often. I've lost so many kids I care about to suicide. And it was just because they didn't see any other option. So be really careful about who your kids are hanging out with and know who those people are. And make sure they have people who are good for them and who are not making them feel like smaller versions of themselves. Even if you necessarily don't approve of their life choices, if they are making your kid a better person, they are a good person to be around. Okay, so that's my advice on the taking a village. Remember your village and utilize your village because, again, these are the years, like studying it from a psychological standpoint, this is the years your kid, you're not as important as you wish you were. Let's just say it that way. They are geared to move away from you. And you need to, like, as a parent, it's your job to utilize that, know that, and help them do that in a healthy way. So yeah, village. Second one is pick your battles. You'll hear people say this a lot. This becomes very important because you need to have like non-negotiables. Okay. I see this in my students a lot. You need to have things that you're like, this is non-negotiable. Like there's going to be things that are sort of, okay. So for example, at my house, sleepovers are non-negotiables. We don't do sleepovers. We just don't. It's just a personal choice. I don't judge you if you do. It's just we don't because I like my sleep. And my kids know that. And interestingly enough, knowing that, they count on it. So they want to be cool, right? But they also want boundaries and they're going to word it like you're awful. Okay. They're going to be like, Mom, can we just have a sleepover? Look, they're here and we just want to do this. And come on, Mom. But they already know that sleepovers are a non negotiable. So they know that you're going to say no. So most likely they don't actually want to do the thing. They just don't want to look like the geeky person that doesn't want to do the thing. So they're going to make you the bad guy. Be the bad guy. Okay. It's fine. Be the biggest bad guy in the whole world and just be like, nope, we don't do sleepovers. Sorry. I didn't actually know this until I talked to my students because my kids are like miserable about it, right? You don't see it as a parent, but my students will say, yeah, like my parents don't ever let us do this. So like I already know when I ask my parents, they're going to say no. Now think about it this way. If your kid, let's use sleepovers again. If your kid is being invited to have a sleepover with kids and they know something is going to happen at that sleepover that they don't want, like they're gonna, it's maybe my daughter and they're having a sleepover and the girls are planning on inviting the boys over and they're gonna go to some party that the high schoolers are having. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. And she knows that she does not want to be in that situation. And she also knows that I say no to sleepovers. Now, what if she calls me knowing that I'm going to say no and feeling safe in that? And then she calls me and I, for some reason, want to be the good guy or the nice person. And I say, oh, I guess yes. Now, what a horrible situation have I put my kid in with the best of intentions when she knew she didn't want to be there because now she doesn't have an out anymore. So your non-negotiables need to be non-negotiable, period, end of story. Okay. So have a few things that you pick that you're like, this is our family rule. Like, this is just what it is. And then be consistent on what those things are because your kid is going to count on them and they are going to make your life miserable about your non-negotiables and they are going to complain and they're going to be terrible, but they are counting on you to be consistent on your non-negotiables. Okay. So that's a really big one with me. Other things I see as a parent, stop monitoring their grades so much. Okay. And stop making them do so many extracurriculars. Your kids are so stressed out. I have, okay, it's more my seniors, but I also see it in my juniors. I have more than 30 kids break down in tears in my classroom every year because it's too much. They'll cry because they'll say, like, I have an assignment where I don't expect them to do super well on it. That's like, we're supposed to. I'm going to make up for it later in the term. I just need them to like understand they're not doing well, right? Later, I'll probably go back and mark it as practice, but they need like a score to tell them this is actually where you're at. I have kids break down in tears. My parents are going to ground me. I have to keep my 4.0. I have to do this. I have to, you guys, if your kids are in high school, it is their job to worry about their grades. Okay. If they're going to get bad grades, that is their life choices at that point. It has, you graduated from high school, you're done. This has no bearing on your life. It does not make you a better parent to have an A student. It does not make you a worse parent to have a D student. Okay. Make your kids own their own crap. And this is like one thing they definitely own. So we need to stop with the you have to get a 4.0. If it is their goal to have a 4.0, and this is something I do ask my children at home. I had one kid who was struggling to get stuff done. And I said, okay, you have to graduate. Like this is my baseline. Okay, you have to get C's, you have to graduate. I know, sorry, my dumb dogs. I know you want to do better than you're doing. Do you need me to step back and encourage, or do you need me to nag? And that, like, your kid will tell you. My kid told me, I really need you to push me because I won't do it by myself. And I was like, okay, now I know that you know that when I nag you, it's because we both know that's what's best for you, right? And he graduated. Yay. There were times we wondered if that was going to happen, but hey, we got there. Fit for Life is the worst credit ever to get your kids to graduate for, just in case you're wondering. So, and it's also frustrating for a teacher when a parent is emailing about grades, because you're not in the classroom every day. I personally, as the year goes on, like we have Wednesday late start in our district, and I will like all day Wednesday we'll have, like, we call it working Wednesday, and we do like credit recovery or are you struggling on something, like it's basically small group work. And so we make goals every Wednesday on what we want to get done that week and yada yada. Parents don't see any of that because your kids don't talk to you. So when you're emailing me about their grades, we probably already have a plan in place, and your kid's not going to tell you about that because I don't know why. They just don't. They're weird. And so it's better if you talk to your kid and make your kid email me while you're sitting right there next to them. Plus, let's be really, really honest. Teenagers lie like there is no tomorrow. Like they flat out, they will lie to me, they will lie to you, they just lie. Okay. So if you make them email me while you're standing over their shoulder looking at it, that's probably going to be the most honest they're going to be, because they know I'm going to call them on their crap if they're writing something that they're lying, and they know you're going to call them on their crap if they're writing me something that they're lying. Okay. They just want, and they're not doing it maliciously, they just want to not be in trouble. So they just lie. I don't know why. They think it's going to make their problems go away, and it really makes their problems worse, right? Like they'll tell you, oh, I turned that in. Also, teachers are not awesome at grading. I'm going to be really honest. So if you're grounding your kid every Friday because they have missing work and they're like, oh, I turned it in. You guys, if your district utilizes Canvas, go learn how to use Canvas, because you can see if they submitted something right on Canvas. Like it will show you a little paper thing on the turn-in thing. It'll say missing, but it'll show that they have submitted something. And then I would also encourage you to go look at what they submitted, because some kids learn that their parents will see that, and they submit like their math homework to English or a blank paper, just so it will show that it's submitted. You can also look at their submission and see that it's actually the assignment that they're supposed to. So most schools at this point, if your school uses Canvas, have like a tutorial for parents on how to do that. Also, as a teacher, I would love to help you learn how to use Canvas for your kids. It makes my life a whole lot easier. In fact, on my Canvas page, I have a video showing parents how to navigate stuff because I want you to follow your kids. It makes it so much easier for me if you do. Um, let's see, what else? Pick your battles. Oh, ask more questions, give less advice. This is something I've noticed from my successful students. Their parents ask a lot of questions. Um, and you can't say, how was your day today? Because they will say fine every single time. You need to get creative. And there are things online that will give you great question starters for your kids. What was the best thing that happened to you today? What was the weirdest thing that happened? What made you laugh? What did you not agree with that your teacher said today? All kinds of things. Okay. And as Christian women, let's be honest, I know there's a lot of attack on schools right now for teaching different things. Um, they're just different things. They're not good or bad. Information only becomes good or bad when we label it so. You, as a parent, your job is to talk to your kids and to make sure they know where your value systems lie and what you understand. Okay. A teacher is just teaching like general information. We have standards we have to hit. We have, like in English, we have books kids like and books they don't. I have no agenda on making your kid have some goal or a belief, right? I just want them to be able to write coherently and state an argument well. Like, this is my goals. I don't actually care what their argument is either, but I am going to give them stuff that's going to make them think. So I will always give them something that will be opposing to what they think and agreeing with what they think because they need to learn to think. So it's your job as a parent to talk to them about those things that they're learning in school. So this is another thing when Canvas comes in handy. You will see what they're learning and what they're talking about, and you can talk to them about it because we want our kids to have good Christian values, and school is not concerned with good Christian values. They're concerned with standards, right? So, yeah, ask a lot of questions of your kids and do it in places where you don't have a phone with you. Um, most of my really successful kids, when they talk about parents, talk about camping trips, going hiking with them. Car rides are a really good one. Car rides are really good because you're parallel. You're not facing each other, which takes a lot of the stress off of you um, or off of them. They can say a lot more when they don't have to look you in the eye to say it. So take one-on-one car rides with your kids to places and talk to them. And don't get upset about anything they say or they'll stop talking to you. Um, but yeah, they are listening. I will say this, and I say this, I teach a church class and I say this to the women there all the time. Your kids listen to you a lot more than you think they do. Like they just roll their eyes and scuzz you out. But like when I see them, they're talking about what you've told them at home and they're thinking about the things that you have told them you believe. And they still really value you and your beliefs, regardless of how it looks when you're talking to them about them. So yeah, do that. Last piece, keep your lines of communication open. Um, this one can get complicated because this means, like I said, in the teenage years, they are hardwired biologically to challenge you and to start going off into the world. This is particularly difficult in a religious perspective because they're going to start saying that they maybe don't like your religion or that they want to do something different to what you believe. And they're probably choosing that just because it's different from what you believe, not necessarily because they like it. You need to support them in that, which is terrifying. And trust that you've done a good job as a parent and that they'll be okay. So this is a phrase that I recommend everyone have because if you have open lines of communication with your kid, they're going to tell you stuff that you're not sure you want to know. Okay. Like you're going to be like, oh, huh. And if you don't think you can respond to that without having a big reaction, learn this phrase. Thank you for telling me that information. I need just a minute to process that. And then wait until you can be calm to respond to them. Because if you react with a lot of emotion, they're going to stop talking to you. And that's when things get scary. You want your kids to talk to you. Okay. So don't have big emotional reactions. Except for if it's an exciting thing, then have like the biggest, like go over the top, like dance around the kitchen if they're excited about something, even if they're like, I gotta win on Fortnite. I had like a neighborhood mom who would take pictures of all of our accomplishments on Mario every time we won one, because back in the 80s, this would disappear. You couldn't like save it at that thing. So she would just take pictures of the screen when you got to a certain level to be like, oh, you did. And it made us feel so awesome. You guys do dumb stuff like that. Okay. Now your phone you don't even have to pay to print that. She paid to print our Super Mario accomplishment. She was such a good person. um, now we don't even have to do that. Okay. Like get excited about their accomplishments. Show up at their crap. Okay. If they're playing a game, show up. Even if they're like, oh, I have this thing, I don't really care. Yeah, they do. Show up. Okay. Um, okay, these are the two hard parts too about open communication. You're gonna have to stay up late. Your kids are gonna come home at midnight, 12:30, and want to tell you everything that happened. Okay. You're going to be so tired. You might have an early meeting. You might be going to the gym at 6 a.m. It doesn't matter. If you tell them, oh, that's great, tell me about it in the morning, you will never hear about it again. Okay. When they come in and want to talk to you at midnight, you sit up, you turn on the light, and you listen, even if you're half asleep. Okay. Because for some reason, they will tell you all kinds of things at midnight that they will never tell you any other time of day. The second thing that I hear from students a lot, put down your phone when they're talking to you. We say that kids need to be off of their phones. Your kids are complaining that you are on your phone. If they're talking to you, put it down. Even if you have a quick text. If you have a text you have to answer, just say, hang on, I got to answer this really quick, and then put it down again. It tells them how important they are to you. If you are listening to them while playing Candy Crush on your phone, they feel like they are less important to you. So put your phone down and stay up late. This is the hardest part about parenting, guys. Schedule mandatory family fun. Okay. You're gonna laugh. We call it in our house after one of our neighbors. She started calling it mandatory family fun, and I started calling it that. And it's things your kids are gonna roll their eyes about and complain. In my house, it's often hikes. Last night it was pizza movie night. Okay. We got pizza and watched a movie. We watched X-Men, actually. And we call it mandatory family fun. Everybody has to show up and everybody has to participate. And they're going to roll their eyes and they're going to drag their feet. And then they're going to go to school and tell their teachers what an amazing time they had with their family. They're never going to tell you. Okay. These are the moments when you are establishing that happiness in your relationship that you get no other way. Your kids will not communicate with you if they don't have good feelings about you. So if the only time they talk to you is when you're lecturing them about how their grades need to be better or how you don't like such and such a friend or how they stayed out too late, that's going to start to reflect on their feelings of you. Okay. So schedule mandatory family fun. Even though they complain about it, they will still have fun. Have a game night. If you don't like board games, nobody cares. Play them anyway. Okay. Because your kids need you to play them with them. Okay, two more quick things. I'm kind of running out of time. As a teacher, never say, do this now or don't come home. Okay, I hear this all the time. My kids who are like, my parents kicked me out over the weekend. And I'll say, what? So what actually happened? As a parent myself, I now give parents a lot of grace when kids are telling me what their parents did because they tell me different stories that didn't really happen. It's usually their parents said, it was like past their curfew and they said, you need to come home right now or you just don't bother coming home. Right. Now, what I hear as a parent when I'm saying that is, I am really serious about you coming home. Get here now. What your kid hears is, they don't want me. I'm kicked out. Even if they get home on time, they still don't view that well. Stop saying that. Okay. Like probably 80% of the kids who tell me their parents have kicked them out, their parents have said some version of that. Please stop saying that. And then second, respect their privacy. Don't go around telling all your friends about the struggles you're having with your kids. Don't air their dirty laundry on social media. Um, don't post pictures of them without them approving them. This is a big one I've learned from my kids. Their friends are probably going to see that dorky picture that you post, and they're going to get bullied about it at school. Okay, so you think it's funny and cute. That is not how the rest of the teenagers view it. Okay, we have a really strict policy. I don't post pictures of my kids on any social media platform without first saying, is it okay if I post this picture? And that's also helped me a lot as a parent, because in my scrapbooks, I have pictures of my kids doing totally dorky things where they used to not let me take the picture at all. And now they'll say, you're not going to post this, are you? And I'm like, if you don't want me to, I won't post it. And then they let me take the weirdo picture. Okay. So you also have to be trustworthy. Like, keep your word to your kids. They're counting on it. So those are my big three things. Remember, it takes a village. Pick your battles and keep open lines of communication. And remember, you are preparing kids to leave you. It's going to happen sooner than you think it is. It's really kind of sad. So hold on a little less tightly when you can, and teach them to do their laundry and cook a couple of meals. Sorry.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Echo, thank you so much. I wrote down so many things, so many valuable notes. Those were so good, especially where I have 3 teens in my house right now. Such great tips for our teenagers. I really appreciate you coming on today and giving us so many great, valuable things. I love that. Yeah. Takes a community, get to know your friends, make sure that they know and understand who you are, and then definitely ask more questions, give less advice. That was great. Love it.
There is one thing that I forgot to say earlier. This is probably the best advice I've ever gotten as a parent. And when I talk to my students about it, they say that is like one of the best things that a parent could do. Have some kind of a code with your kids that they can text you. It has to be something they can do fast. So like an X or some kind of emoji, or maybe a code word. You guys decide between you what it is. And when you get that text from them out of context, just weirdly, that's a sign for you to go into bad guy mode. You need to either call them and tell them they have to come home right now, or go pick them up, whatever, like invent some job they didn't get done. Just make sure you're yelling loudly so that anybody that's around them can hear your voice coming over the phone, and sound just like a crazy person, and be an absolute bad guy and make them come home. Because it's way easier for teenagers to save face if they have to obey parents. And it gives them like a get out of jail free card when they're in a bad situation, to know that mom and dad will have my back. And one of the conditions you have to tell them with this is that you will never ask questions about why you're getting them, because they don't want to rat on their friends, and just say, as long as nobody's safety is in danger, you don't have to tell me why I came. And I have had this. So like I said, I've got 3 boys that have already graduated, and I have used it multiple times with every one of my boys. And I would say I know what happened that I had to go get them maybe 30% of the time. Still to this day, it's been years in some of these cases, 5, 6 years, and I still don't know why I had to go pick them up. And that's okay with me, because all I know is that they were in a situation that they didn't feel safe in, and that they felt okay with calling me and knowing that I would save them, essentially. So maybe someday they'll tell me, maybe they won't, but that's okay, because they're safe and they're grown up and it's fine. So I highly recommend. That's probably one of the best pieces of advice that anybody has ever given me. So yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Echo, for the whole day. Everything that such great tips as a teacher, as a parent, parenting these teens, especially our high school teens that we're sending off and getting ready to go out into the world. I always talk about, like, we send these kids out into the world and they have to face such hard, difficult things, and then they get to come back to us. And we want to be that safety space for them, right? We want to be that refuge for them. And so I love all of the tips that you've given today. Thank you so much for all of your awesome tips and wise advice and good things to help our kids to succeed this school year. And I hope everybody takes the things that she said during the workshop and incorporates them to help your teens be successful this school year. So thank you so much for being on. Appreciate it. And I hope everybody learned something. I know everybody's going to have a takeaway.